Hi, everybody. It's Eric Murray from the sugarhuddle.com. Last couple weeks, I've been doing training camp blues stories, just talking about injuries, key injuries that have happened during that week and what it really means for that team. This week is the dress rehearsal week for the NFL preseason, week 3, technically week 4, but I call it week 3, whatever. But anyways, week 3 of the NFL preseason, it's a dress rehearsal week. It's when all the starters play at least a half, even well into the third quarter. It's the closest thing to regular season action. And of course, in these meaningless exhibition games, like we see every week, every year, there's some big injuries that happen, and you just wonder, could have been so avoidable, but the NFL, they're greedy. They got to have their 4 preseason games, 5 for the Hall of Fame game teams, charge full price for the tickets, the whole shebang. We still foolishly do it because we love the NFL. But at any rate, this week especially, there were a lot of tight ends that were ravaged by injuries. I'll get to them in a moment, but the big injury that happened last night was Jaguars wide receiver Marqise Lee. Now, right now, we don't know for sure what his status is as far as how long he's going to be out, what the exact injury is, is he done for the season or whatever. But last night, they were playing the Falcons. Jaguars were playing the Falcons, and he came across the middle, made a catch, and it was Marqise is the safety for the Falcons. He made a hit, which usually is a totally legal hit any other year. He went low, kind of tackled him below the knee, but of course the NFL called a flag because of their new ridiculous helmet rule, whatever. But anyways, at any rate, Lee goes down with the injury. He's grabbing his knee kind of buckled. The cart off the field. A lot of people think it's like ACL, MCL, something. He'll be done for the year. Jaguars coach Doug Marrone said that he's not going to know for sure until sometime today what exactly the status is. But at any rate, Marrone said over and over again after the game, he couldn't emphasize it enough that it looked really, really bad. And he just didn't feel sound or feel very, very confident about the Lee status going forward. So there's a possibility Lee could be lost for the season. And what that means for the Jaguars is not very good because, remember, they moved on from Allen Robinson in the offseason. Lee became their de facto number 1 wideout. Even though he's really not a true number 1, his numbers over the first 4 years of his career definitely don't suggest number 1 caliber. But nonetheless, he's the most experienced, best guy that they have. Remember, they have 2 second-rounders, D.D. Westbrook and Keelan Cole. Or, I'm sorry, 2 second-year players, I should say, D.D. Westbrook and Keelan Cole. And then, of course, the second-rounder that they drafted out of LSU this year, DJ Chark. And they also have Donte Moncrief, the 5th-year man that used to play in Indianapolis, former Ole Miss running Rebel, or Ole Miss Rebel, UNLV running Rebels, Ole Miss Rebel. But anyways, those guys, none of them are yet number 1 caliber guy, and those guys have limited experience in production. Cole, as a rookie last year, caught 42 passes in 16 games and averaged 17.8 yards a catch, which is pretty darn good, especially being an undrafted free agent out of Kentucky Wesleyan. And, of course, Westbrook, who was very, very highly rated coming out of Oklahoma. He was a second-round pick last year, and he was a real star in training camp, but unfortunately, because of injuries, he only played 7 games last year. Still had 27 catches, which is about 4 catches per game, which would have put him over 60 catches for the year. But nonetheless, you have to wonder, can he stay healthy this year? He's an undersized guy. What will Cole do in his second year? Moncrief, his second year in the league in 2015, had 64 catches, 733 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I believe he went in the 3rd round in 2014 to the Colts. But unfortunately, the last 2 years, he hasn't really done much. He's missed somewhere around 11 to 13 games total, so he's missed a bunch of games. Only has 56 combined catches for less than 700 yards in those 2 years. So he had more production in 2015, except for the touchdown part, than he's had the last 2 years combined. So for the Jaguars, you can't really feel too great right now because, remember, you have Ben Koyak, you have Austin Seferian-Jenkins, and you have Niles Paul as your tight ends. Kind of meh. Leonard Fournette's not really much of a pass catcher, and you have Blake Bortles as your quarterback, which isn't a very encouraging thing to begin with. So Now all of a sudden, Jacksonville, a team, very high expectations, AFC Championship game last year, trying to get back there, if not win a Super Bowl this year. You're kind of depleted now as far as your weapons, and you already have questions at quarterback. So now it puts even more pressure on your defense. Of course, the Texans are going to be better with Deshaun Watson presumably playing all year and J.J. Watt presumably being back. And then, of course, the Titans, they have a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new philosophy. They think Mariota could have a breakout year. We'll see what Mike Vrabel's team does. But at any rate, it's definitely an discouraging thing for the Jaguars, and it could be a thing where it could cost them a playoff spot. We'll see. But big injury there. I'm kind of thinking that he's probably going to be out for the season, just looking at the injury and the way Doug Marrone is talking. We'll find out some point today at any rate. But anyways, you also had a whole bunch of tight ends that got injured this weekend. Jesse James from the Steelers, Evan Ingram from the Giants, and Luke Wilson from the Lions. Now, with James's injury, it's tough because he was going up for a catch. It was a high throw by Ben Roethlisberger. He injured his back. It's a back contusion. He's questionable for week 1. But remember, they already had their other 2 tight ends in the top 3 of their depth chart out in the preseason. They had Vance McDonald, who they had traded for last year from the 49ers. He's been out all of training camp because of a foot injury, and they're not for sure when he's coming back. He's questionable for week 1. And then Xavier Grimble, the other tight end, the third tight end, he tore a ligament in his finger a couple weeks ago, and he just had surgery last week. So all 3 of those guys could possibly play week 1, but there's also a possibility that none of them could play week 1. They're playing the Browns week 1, but there's a lot of people that they're actually betting on the Browns to cover the spread in that game and could upset them. I don't see the Browns beating them, but nonetheless, if they don't have any of those 3 tight ends, that definitely makes it a lot tougher on Ben Roethlisberger, who, of course, loves to throw to his tight ends over the middle as a safety net, and especially in the red zone. They've struggled to kind of replace Heath Miller over the last few years. So if none of those 3 guys are available, or if some of those injuries linger into the season, that's not going to be a very, very good thing. And then, of course, Evan Ingram, second-year tight end for the Giants, really nice rookie year, one of the top-rated tight ends in fantasy already. And remember, last year, the Giants, one of the reasons why they had that record 13-loss season, franchise record 13-loss season, is because of the fact that they had all these guys that were getting hurt. They had Odell Beckham Jr., Sterling Shepard. I mean, it was just totally depleted. And now, you get Saquon Barkley second overall, feeling pretty good about having all these guys back. But it's like, is it here we go again? Is Ingram, he got a concussion over the weekend. He has a couple weeks to get back, but you wonder, could he be affected beyond that? Could he deal with other injuries? You never know. Always a maybe thing with anything, but at any rate, you wonder, are the Giants going to be ravaged with injuries again on offense? And if so, it will be a rough year 1 for Pat Shurmur, who's now taking over the Giants head coaching job. And then finally, Luke Wilson. Luke Wilson spent the last 5 years in Seattle. He's more of a blocking tight end, averages about 15 or 20 catches a year. Very good blocker. Has nice soft hands, is reliable in the red zone. 89 career catches, but 11 of them are for touchdowns. So that's pretty darn good. But he ended up getting injured last night, or Friday night, against the Buccaneers. Status is kind of uncertain for week 1 because he banged up his knee. They said it's kind of a week-to-week type of thing right now. But remember, Detroit is trying to kind of change their philosophy. Matt Patricia, former Patriots defensive coordinator, is now the head coach there. And remember, they haven't been able to run the ball particularly well in recent years. Remember, last year, there were a lot of times in short yardage and goal line situations where they got stuffed. They draft Kerryon Johnson out of Auburn in the 2nd round, trying to commit more and more to running the ball this year. And a guy like Luke Wilson would really help a lot in that, being an extra blocker up front. But if that knee does start to bother him throughout the year, even if it comes back week 1, that could be a real issue. So we'll see. But anyways, that's training camp blues week 3. We'll see. None of the starters are going to play next week, so there shouldn't be any more major injuries going into the season. But we'll see how those tight ends bounce back. We'll see what happens with Marqise Lee, how it affects all of those teams. But go to thesugarhuddle.com for more. Check out all the videos. I'm going to have AFC South previews this week coming up, and then we'll be right into the regular season. But anyways, go to thesugarhuddle.com, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel.